Today I thought I'd do a small video on a subject that many people have actually been asking me to comment on. This is a subject that we see on the newspapers quite a bit these days, and that is why today I'm gonna talk about state-owned enterprises, how it should be governed, and how during this time of economic survival, why we need to look at this subject a little bit further and evaluate which enterprises are we going to keep with the government and which should be let out. In other words, privatize. One of the first ways I feel state-owned enterprises should be reformed is through public-private partnerships. Public-private partnerships allow these institutions to reduce their burden, the burden of which falls on the state coffers, and as a result causes more and more funds to be allocated to these institutions that are anyway underperforming. So with the help of private sector involvement, you can just imagine the professionalism and the type of financial assistance or capital that will be added to these institutions to make them better performing institutions. Another step I always say, and I've also worked in the government sector, I've seen how things happen practically. It's high time that each of these institutions have oversight committees. These oversight committees should be represented once again by professionals who understand the subjects, professionals who are able to assist that institution in their decision making, and of course provide that much needed oversight to ensure that the vision of that institution is carried out however long that it may take. And also, these oversight committees need to be made up of professionals that are appointed not on a political basis, but be appointed on a merit basis. So those who deserve to be there need to be there. Another way to look at reforming state-owned enterprises is to break them down into smaller units so that they can be more easily managed. Each unit in this state-owned enterprise will have their own KPIs, will have their own targets, and they will be responsible to achieve those targets. And can I also just say that if we implement market-based pricing, this can be a great factor in diminishing corruptive practices and allow us to achieve higher revenues. If we look at it historically, state-owned enterprises in Sri Lanka have always faced uncertainties and a lack of accountability. This has, as a result, led to multiple issues over the last 20-30 years, which finally led to the economic crisis that we have. This means looking at best practices and strategies implemented by very successful state-owned enterprise holding companies, such as that in Singapore, for example. Temasek Holdings, they have been very successful with managing their assets, and we must look at those best practices and learn from them, and as a result implement them the best way that we can within our system. We must also look at getting more funds from institutions such as the World Bank, the ADB. I can't state how important IMF process is for Sri Lanka. And we must also ensure that bills such as the Economic Transformation Bill and the Public Financial Management Bill is also passed through Parliament and correctly implemented. An example I would like to use to explain state-owned enterprises, why there is a need for restructuring, is this whole talk about Sri Lankan Airlines potential divestiture. Post-World War II, many newly independent nations, including Sri Lanka, launched their own national carriers as a way to promote their own identity and culture. Sri Lanka Paradise. The aviation industry today has evolved to become a globally competitive arena, requiring commercial focus and professional management. Following the Israeli-Arab War in the 1970s, OPEC, sensing this instability, increased the price of crude oil, which subsequently led to high airfares in the aviation sector. As a result, Sri Lanka's Air Ceylon was given its first challenge of navigating through this competitive arena. Air Lanka, which later became known as Sri Lankan Airlines in 1998, following a partnership with Emirates, saw the infusion of capital, which brought modernization and profitability to the airline. Since Emirates withdrew in 2008, Sri Lankan Airlines has incurred significant losses.
Sri Lanka's obsession of wanting to manage its own airline under state supervision led to the current predicament it is currently facing. This, however, was also a situation faced by neighboring countries such as Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and several African nations. As of today, Air India is the only carrier that has since become privatized, and it is no longer a burden. Many countries across the world have privatized their national carriers, recognizing the benefits of professional management and commercial focus.
It is therefore crucial that when we look at the election that is on the horizon, my advice would be that let's work together. Let all political parties work together and not play games, because finally what we have to do is we have to work together to ensure all political parties work on ensuring Sri Lanka's long-term sustainability and avoid political games that have the potential to hold us down. Thank you.